Hi, my name is TJ. My dad died of overdose on January 1st, 2011, and my mom is a recovering addict. God helped my mom, and now together we are here to help you. Now let's talk recovery. Here's your host, my mom, Susan Sexton-Wood.
On the screen, but hi, and welcome to Let's Talk Recovery. I'm your host, Susan Sexton-Wood. Today, our guest is Chad Wood. He is my brother-in-law, and he is the person that runs Celebrate Recovery here in Richmond, Indiana. We want to first tell you that Celebrate Recovery has moved from Hillcrest Baptist Church to 318 National Road West, and this is at the First United Methodist Church on National Road West. So we want to welcome Chad.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yep.
So share with us, just share with us a little bit about what Celebrate Recovery is doing and why did you move from Hillcrest to the National Road West?
Okay. All right. So we moved to Hillcrest. We started at Hillcrest about 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. It used to be called Reformers Unanimous, and then we found out about Celebrate Recovery, and we liked the program and how it has the 12 steps and the biblical comparisons. So it really took off really well at the beginning at Hillcrest, but over time it seems like we just weren't reaching people like we had hoped. And come to find out, as talking to people, it was mainly the Friday night wasn't suitable for most people. The location of Hillcrest wasn't very suitable for most of the people that come to Celebrate Recovery. There's issues with driver's license. Just a lot of the location. So we just, after praying and talking to Pastor Marty, we end up making the decision, and Pastor Ted at First United was gracious enough to let us move down there, and we've been down there since January of this year, which is going on 10 months now, and we've had great success, really. We've seen a lot more newcomers coming in. We've had a lot more inquiries from other recovery entities just wanting to get involved. It was slow in the beginning, but now we're starting to see some better results. People are coming back, and we're having a better outreach now. The purpose of Celebrate Recovery is for hurts, habits, and hangups. I have a flyer here if you see any of these around town. But it's about hurts, habits, and hangups. It's not just about drinking or a drug addiction, heroin addiction. It's about any kind of struggle that one might have, whether it be drinking, smoking, gambling, divorce, wayward child, any of these issues that come up, and it's just overwhelming, or we just don't know how to deal with it. Celebrate Recovery provides a step of recovery. It's a way through the hurt, the habit, or the hang-up, and our focus is through Jesus Christ, our higher power. But it's basically working on the first step, admitting that we have a problem, and then going into the second step where we make a decision to turn that problem over to God and to a power greater than ourselves, and then we were willing to make all the necessary steps, and then we get to a point where we make amends for all the harms we've done, and we make right make forgiveness is another part of the steps. So that's how it applies to everybody. It's whatever hurt you put in there, you can overcome it with a support group.
It's life problems. We all have some life problems,
life
right?
Issues, right?
Right.
Very
and
good.
And you guys moved earlier. You were talking about it was Friday night, and so you went from Friday night at Hillcrest, which is a little bit out of the way. It's not really in the city.
Right.
And now you're on Thursday night You start at 6:30, which there's always a meal provided.
Right.
And it is within walking distance. So say if somebody needed a ride, you can't really transport, 10, 20 people at
Right.
one time. But if one person needed a ride and they were to call, you would find somebody to
Right,
get that
yeah.
one person.
Yes. Yeah, there's rides provided. There's other members that come that are willing to pitch in as well. And it is easily located. It's, that's biggest part of it. That was the draw for us. And thanks for mentioning that about it being on Thursday nights at 6:30. We have a meal provided from 6:30 to 7, and then from 7 to 8 we have a lesson or a testimony. We alternate that each week. And we also provide child care. I believe it's up to 8 years old. We don't have sufficient staff for any teens or anything over the 8-year-old. But we have what's called Celebration Station, or which is for children. And as the adults are going through their lessons, there's something for the children as well. So it really is for everybody.
Right.
And everybody has a place in it. And the teens, we don't have sufficient staff, but they're welcome, and we can. They have other people that will entertain them as well, I guess.
Right. Well, and as Celebrate Recovery, the goal would be, as you guys grow, is to have something for the teens.
Right.
Eventually,
Yeah.
too. And that's part of your prayer as you continue to grow.
Correct. Yeah. That we can't just throw anybody in the position. They have to be trained and
Right,
lit up in
right.
it. So that's why it's not one of what we provide right now.
Right. Well, and the leaders, with you in leadership, you go to training
Correct.
yearly to continue doing what you're doing
Yeah.
as a leader, right?
Right. Yeah. Celebrate Recovery's it's nationwide. I mean, it's international. It's in other countries as well. I believe I want to say there's about 20,000 different churches that it's in nationwide. And so the purpose of that is that if someone goes to a Celebrate Recovery in California or New York, they get the same kind of environment, the same lesson, the same safe place to share about their hurts, habits, and hangups. And so with that said, they have a big resource. They have an outreach that they have training twice a year. They call a summit, which we can go to and get further training of what's going on, what's on the what's new for Celebrate Recovery, how we are able to facilitate people. And then we have local trainings, which are some in Indianapolis or Dayton, and it's called a one-day seminar. And if people keep coming to Celebrate Recovery and they get interested, and we see that they're wanting to go further, we encourage them to get involved in leadership. And
Right.
as that's a part of recovery as well as growing and giving back. So.
Right. And Celebrate Recovery is a 12-step program.
Yes.
But it is a Christ-centered 12-step program.
Right. That's the unique part about Celebrate Recovery to most recovery meetings. We have what is the 12 steps, and it's pretty well-known recovery. But most people forget that it was all founded in biblical beliefs, and they forget that there was biblical principles behind that. So we teach on the steps, and we teach how it compares to what God says in the Word, and how that can profit us even more in recovery. Because a lot of times when people come in, I'll use alcohol as an example because that's one of my struggles, is that when we come into recovery, we think that alcohol is the problem. When in fact I found out that I had a heart condition. First of all, I didn't really know my Lord and Savior. I didn't have a true relationship with my higher power. And then when I did discover that, I started to realize I just need to work on my relationship with my Savior and deal with my heart issues. And then the desire to drink went away. And for many years, I struggled with just trying to keep alcohol out of my life. And I could never win that battle. I never could. defeated. But when I focused on giving my life to Christ and seeking Him, I never wanted to drink again. The desire was completely lifted. And that's how I've addressed all of the other struggles, just the same way.
Right.
So that's what 12 steps in their biblical comparison is. It's we stop focusing on our addiction and start focusing on our cure, our healer, the one that can deliver us. And then that's the power.
Right.
So.
And when someone comes in to Celebrate Recovery for the first time, you also have a beginner's, not necessarily a class, but a welcome, so you can let them get comfortable with what's going to happen,
Right.
because you have, as you talked about, the meal is from 6:30 to 7, and then you have the testimony, you alternate the lesson and then the testimony alternate weeks, with which it's kind of a combination of men and women that sit in for that hour, but then you separate the men and the women for a small group where they can discuss personal things that stay in that
Right.
group. Do you want to talk a little bit about the newcomer and kind of what you go over with the newcomer, and then how you separate after that?
Okay. Yeah, that's the Newcomer 101, that we have that every night, that we have CR. And basically we just go over the welcome them and get to know them, and then tell them how Celebrate Recovery, like I did about the it's in all the other churches and how it came to be, and we talk about why we stick to they call it the DNA of Celebrate Recovery. We had the lesson, testimony, lesson, testimony, and the reason that we do that is so that if you when the person's coming in, they're really apprehensive in the first place to be there, and they don't really know what's going on. So the more informed that we can give them, more information that we could give them, the more relaxed they will be. And then the part that follows after all that, where we go into the small groups and we divide the women and the men, this is unique to Celebrate Recovery as well as most like AA and NA meetings. Everything's just joined together. But Celebrate Recovery has found that it works better to separate them, because men have issues and women have their issues. Now, a man will not more than likely, he's not going to share about his addiction to pornography if there's women in the room. Right. And a woman probably will not share about domestic issues if there's a man in the room. It's not a safe environment, and it doesn't allow someone to feel like they can share. So by separating, we've been able to give that security and feel people feel like they could be safe and open up. And we're really strict on how we handle that. There's our lessons, or there are 5 guidelines that are followed. The leader reads at the beginning of each meeting and tries to hold people accountable, so that when someone is sharing, that they have all of the respect of everybody around to be quiet and let them share. Now, that doesn't mean you have to share. That's a question I get a lot of times. Do I have to speak? No, you can sit there and listen until you feel comfortable. The whole point is that people walk around bottled up with pain, emotions, their hurts, this is all bottled up, and it's not until we talk about it that we start to feel the change begin. I mean, it's just amazing when someone sits there and starts to share, how you could just see them starting to change right before your eyes. You could see the pain coming out of them right away, because they've not felt safe to tell anybody. Now, it takes a while. Some people have come for months before they open up, but that's okay as well. Right. The newcomers, they'll come sometimes and listen, and they won't be back, but eventually they'll come back around. They just, they'll realize that Celebrate Recovery is for real. We don't play games. We're not there to we're not there to just put on a show. We're there for serious business. There are life and death issues. We try to have fun and laugh and all that, but recovery is serious business. There are people dying every day because they just didn't find the right place to share, I feel. So Celebrate Recovery is by far my favorite, not just because I'm running it, but I had been through several, many different recovery programs. Not that there was anything wrong with them, I just wasn't ready at the time. I just didn't. But for me, it was the relationship with God, and Celebrate Recovery provides the perfect place to strengthen that relationship and to grow. Because I still have hurts, habits, and hangups. Now, they don't control me to the point where I go out and use, but through working these steps, I still have a grip, and that things are getting better, So that's the purpose of it. It's not that I will ever be completely free of pain or hurts, habits, and hangups, but I know that I will always have support as I go through life.
Right. And you guys connect with other organizations, like with us, with Unchained Praises. Right. If someone comes in and they need more than a group setting, then you'll refer them to Unchained Praises for some one-on-one, or with Centerstone or Meridian, with NA programs and with AA programs, because they can do more meetings. Right. Another thing that you guys do on top of the meetings is you work the step work, because it is a 12-step program. Yeah. There are the 12-step book work.
Step study,
and the step study, which you offer both for men and for women. And so you have sign-ups usually once a year.
Yeah.
And so you usually get with everybody to see maybe what day works best for whoever may be interested in that before you even pick a day, so that everybody can determine what day may work before you actually start scheduling that, right? Do you want to share some of that?
Yeah. The step studies, that is a very crucial part, and we do start that usually in January or February. Mm-hmm. It takes about 10 months of commitment. I mean, because that's it's such a deep dive into ourselves. It's not something we can just do in a matter of a couple of months. I mean, it's 4 books long, and it has many of questions. I can't remember how many sections in each book, but it asks the questions that we've been running from our whole life, and when it forces us to get honest with ourselves in a group setting, and it too is separated men and women. Mm-hmm. And but we've had great success when people do complete it. It's a very tough one. Mm-hmm. And most people, you'll hear about the 4th step. They get to that point of having to make a list of all their wrongs, and that's where most people start to slip back out. They're not ready to face what they've done. They're not ready to face their who they've become in their hurts, their addictions. The referring people, we like to refer people. We do it all the time, and the point of that is because we only meet on one night, and then we'll meet on the other night for step studies. But recovery is every day, 7 days a week. So we encourage people to get involved in their church if they can, get involved in any of these other meetings. There's so much out there that one a day a week is not enough. It just isn't going to make it. And I know early in my recovery, I didn't miss. I went every single day, 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. I did that until I could. But now my ministry is, become my recovery. I come to church, and I'm involved in doing more one-on-one, just sponsorships and the accountability. And so my time is filled still with meetings, but I don't go to as many meetings. Right. But I'm still involved, and that's what we highly encourage that. And we're not saying Celebrate Recovery is, you have to come here and you can't go nowhere else. We really encourage others to get involved in all of them. Mm-hmm. So and we get referrals from others as well. So it's becoming a great team effort.
Right.
Really.
Right. Because recovery is a lifestyle change. Recovery is our jobs and our home life. It's our meetings. It's giving back, and a lot of giving back helps us in return.
Yeah.
You know, it fills our heart. We not only need to fill our minds, but filling our hearts is a big. I know it's a big part of my recovery, and I see a lot of long-lasting recovery when you're giving back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to have true sustainability, the steps teach us we have to carry this message to others in all our affairs. You can't, I've heard it said by the Word of God, it doesn't come to us to be for us. It comes to us to be through us. And that's recovery in a nutshell. The best days of my recovery are days I'm involved with other people. My worst days in recovery are days I'm self-centered and I don't talk to anybody and I don't get involved. But yeah, I never saw myself being a ministry leader or being involved in a church or to the capacity that I am today. I never even saw myself being sober. But as I grew and learned and worked the steps, I started to realize that there's so many people out there that need what I have, and there's so many people that have out there that have what I need. And so it's a reciprocating relationship. I can't stay here without people in recovery, and that's just point blank. If people don't come to CR, I will have a hard time because I need, that's recovery.
Right.
And then any kind of relationship, you got to have a give and take, and that's recovery. You can't just be about taking and taking and taking. You got to give back. And the more you give back, the more fruitful it is.
Right. And we can learn from someone just coming in. It doesn't mean that if we have a year or 2 years that we know everything. And if somebody comes in and they're 5 hours in, I know I can learn sometimes more from somebody that's just coming in than I can learn from somebody that may have 10 or 20 years. And that's just my experience, because it reminds me what I'm not missing out there.
Yeah, it's definitely a good mirror to look in every now and then and see where we were, and yet, to remind us that it's real, because you can get comfortable in recovery. You really can. Life is, for me today, better than it's ever been in my life. I mean, it's just awesome right now. But I know that that's contingent upon my recovery, my daily reprieve that I've been given by working these steps, my relationship with God. As before, I thought it was all about just staying away from alcohol. Like, that's my problem. But it's the furthest thing from my problem. My problem is me. Take alcohol, drugs away, I still had problems. But I had to learn to love myself, and I had to learn to love people around me. So, yeah, the newcomers, they're the most precious part of recovery, because without them, we do not have anything. We really don't. They're the ones I'm looking for on Thursday night.
Right.
How can I connect with a newcomer and make them feel like they're welcome?
So if a church would be interested in starting a Celebrate Recovery, what are the steps they would take to do that?
Well, that takes a commitment of a team. First of all, you have to have the support of the pastor. And they have kickoffs, which takes about 4 months. And you have to have a group of people that are willing to go through the steps. They have to work through the step study books. And then after they pass the 4th step, then they're ready to start having lessons and open up small groups. And the reason that is because they don't believe that anybody can connect with the newcomers if they haven't worked through the steps that they're teaching on. So we got to go through the steps. We got to be taught what we're teaching, and we have to really have the genuine experience of going through what we're asking people to go through. If you're going to ask people to open up and write down their moral inventories and go write down, forgive people that have hurt you, and you're going to ask people to love those who have hurt you. Well, you need to have done that yourself in order to fully and effectively lead these ministries. And, you know, there's been 3 of them I know of in Richmond, and they're no longer in service anymore to Celebrate Recovery. That I run is, you know, I think I've been running 4 years now, and we're the only one in Richmond. So we've had people inquire, but we haven't found people ready to make the commitment. Because it's a commitment.
Yes, it is.
It's not just every now and then. You got to be there every week. You got to answer the calls when people call. You just got to be available 24/7.
And a dedicated team alongside you.
Yeah, I have a great supporting cast. That I'm the supporting cast. They really run it. They're the team. So
it's a good team.
Yeah.
So if share with us one of your favorite verses in the Bible.
Well, that would be Joshua 1 and verses 8 and 9. It talks about courage and being not afraid. And I see if I could quote it. It says, "This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success." And this is the part I like. "Have not I commanded thee to be strong and be of good courage? Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And that's been instrumental, become my life verse, because coming out of that kind of lifestyle, you face a lot of fear, and you face a lot of insecurities, and I just remember clinging to that. Be not afraid, be of good courage, you know. So that's probably it. That's my favorite.
It's neat how just God brings what somebody else may need. Just you sharing that, like I needed that verse.
Good.
It's neat what He does, and just for those of you who don't know, you are in recovery also.
Yeah.
And you did share a little bit your struggle with alcohol, but we didn't get into a lot of your testimony today. But you've been on the show before, sharing your testimony, and we wanted to talk more about Celebrate Recovery, because we want people to go to the meetings. We want people to know about the 12-step Christ-centered programs, because like you said earlier, you know, God is where it is. Without the foundation of Christ, then we fall. And with the foundation of Christ, then we're able to stand tall, and we're able to fight daily our recovery. And sometimes it feels like we're not in recovery, you know, that our life has changed so much that we don't really have to say the recovery word anymore, even though we are still in recovery. We're in a good recovery though, because we have Christ with us. So we want to thank you, Chad, for being on the show and sharing the wonderful ministry of Celebrate Recovery. If you want more information about Celebrate Recovery, then you can find Chad on Facebook. You can get with us, and we can connect you with him. If you want to start a Celebrate Recovery in your church, we want to encourage you to do that. If you're struggling and you need help, then reach out to us. We want to thank you for joining us on the Let's Talk Recovery show, and just reach out to us. We're here to help you, and you don't have to continue struggling. There is relief if you're struggling. Have a nice night. Thank you.